Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Excalibur Roundtable Tech Talk. I am Mike Fuson. This is a continuation of our extended Tech Talk series with our partner, AlertOps. I have Cam from AlertOps joining me again for another enlightening session on one of the many features that make up the AlertOps platform. Cam, as always, thanks for being with me today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Mike.
So I know in our last episode, we covered workflows and the ability to have the system not only send a message, which is something that we've talked at length about, which is something that is a core capability of the AlertOps platform in the name Alert. But at the same time, we have the ability to do what you've referred to as dynamic routing or really customer playbooks, where we're able to chain these workflows together to have a set of actions that occur. Just looking at what we could just do with workflows, just with one thing, let alone being able to tie these things together and have a full customer playbook available to drive functionality. So I'd love to have you tell me more about that and show everybody one of the many long list of great features that make up the AlertOps platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So last time we discussed how workflows are conditionally evaluated actions that can be configured to trigger to people or to systems. Now, you're never going to have just one person that you need to notify, never going to have just one action that you need to take throughout the course of incident response. So the power of workflows really comes into play when we can start to chain them together and link them to holistically depict a level of automation that wasn't realized before the response process. So within AlertOps, we have the concept of escalation rules. And escalation rules really act as the definition for how people are going to be notified in terms of what channels of communication, as well as the intervals between escalation. In this case, I have a escalation rule configured to react in the process that will kick off when I have a major incident alert in this case. Outside of just escalations, though, escalation rules are referred to as playbooks often in AlertOps because they house all of the subsequent automation that's going to occur when this escalation process kicks off. So I have workflows here, and I can see that I have nested a bunch of workflows to go ahead and notify various business segments on various conditions throughout the course of the alert. In addition, I have nested a remediation action here, so a good deal of flexibility in how the processes can be automated. So in this case, I have the ability to attach this particular escalation rule to an integration. So whenever another tool, any tool sends over a notification that warrants creating an alert, and this major incident alert should be followed, the process is fairly straightforward. So when I have an integration here, I can set up my default escalation rule. So that'll be the playbook that's kicked off to this particular recipient group. We have a concept of dynamic routing, which allows us to modify the default escalation rule and the default recipient groups based on the data or time that's sent over by the tool. So in this case, I have my escalation rules being overridden based on various fields that Surewell would send over. So in the case that Surewell sent over a field labeled service, and that contains any value pertaining to portal service, I'm going to use one playbook. If the time contains after hours, I'm going to use a different playbook. If the impact contains major, I'm going to use the major incident playbook that we just saw. So this really is a depiction of how well AlertOps can configure itself to tailor how the response processes are structured to your organization's needs.
Interesting. So when we look at this, really, as I look at the list you have up on the screen, it's kind of a case statement. So if this is portal, then take this action. However, if the time equals this, then take this action. Is that how that's designed to really function? So you can get pretty creative with tying it to one thing that's coming in and decide what actions based on what criteria.
Exactly, and that's one of the most powerful features within AlertOps. So you'll hear me talk about logic a lot. And the reason that I refer to it as logic is because AlertOps rule processing engine, so the ability for us to do things like evaluate the values of fields in escalation rule overrides, building filters in workflows. So all of that allows you to a pretty granular extent get down into the weeds and sift through your data so that in the case that it matches a particular condition, that the response warranting that condition is automatically kicked off there.
So we're kind of accounting for, hey, most of the time we're going to do X, but we've got these other conditions where we might do Y, A, B, or C.
Exactly.
And it's all part of one rule set. And obviously, it's one of the things that we've looked at internally here at Excalibur as we evolve certain processes. We may want, let's not over-engineer it. We know the 5 things we want to do, but as our process matures, we want to just be able to add another rule as we start to get better at what we're doing, and let automation, really you're saying, hey, let the automation take the control to take the actions or send alerts or do whatever it is you need to do based on conditions that we know are alternative conditions, not that one-off, once in a million sort of thing, but these are common alternative conditions that may occur, and we need to take a little different path. And it could be a little different or a lot different depending on the circumstances.
Exactly. So then as you decide to add more conditions, add more logic in here, it kind of shows you how the tool, the system can grow with your organization.
Yeah, and that's obviously for most organizations, when you start to embark on that IT service management journey, and you're trying to align with the best practice framework, whether that be ITIL or COBIT or any of the frameworks that are out there, all of them have one common concept, which is that continual service improvement. How do we get better at what we do? And that's one of the reasons that we have spent all the time we have in these many episodes talking about AlertOps, is this is a platform that complements what you're doing and capturing that major incident and helping you to automate it. And that starts to drive, and this is all about customer experience. It's all about providing that high level, exceptional customer experience. And as we've talked about in previous episodes, when we're doing messages, that we're notifying different folks, and it's not something that has to be managed by an individual sending out emails to this distribution group and that distribution group and trying to remember what to do. We've really scripted this in a way, kind of scripted our response to say, here's who we want to notify and how we want to notify them, but then we're taking this a step further, that we may have actions we want to take as well. And then when we look at this from a logical perspective, well, we have other things that may impact the actions that we want to take. I just think it's so cool because it does start to drive that customer experience. And for technicians that are managing this stuff, it makes us more efficient, right? Because it's all about the customer experience is going to really be dictated by our level of efficiency in restoring service or communicating what's going on, and that's going to keep that customer experience high. And that's hard to do if you're trying to do it all manually. By leveraging tools that have logical capabilities, you're going to be able to drive that better. So it's always so exciting to talk about these things, and we could go on forever and ever and ever about how exciting this is and how we can't imagine why everybody doesn't have AlertOps. But as everybody out there knows, we're more than happy. Cam and I will jump on the phone with you. We're more than happy to go through a demo for you and talk about how AlertOps can change the game and make a big impact in your organization to complement your IT service management platform you may already be using. Or, for that matter, standalone. We've talked about connecting it to other things besides ITSM. We've looked at things inside of Excalibur where we have other things that occur that are kind of part of our support process, but really AlertOps would be probably sticking in the ITSM system because it's coming in as a voicemail, as an example, and getting turned over into an email, and we want to be able to react to that in a certain way. And so it's leveraging all of the power that this platform provides. Cam, as always, thank you for being with me today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with everyone. And we look forward to chatting again on another episode.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, Mike.